Welcome to the eCommerce Expert Podcast, where we get up close and personal with the superheroes of e-commerce, getting them to reveal their most profitable tactics and strategies to help you level up your e-commerce game. So fasten your seatbelt and get ready for an info-packed ride with your host, e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing OG, Derek Gale.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the eCommerce Expert Podcast. And today I am thrilled to have the founder and CEO of a company called Ridgeline Insights, a company known for a really impressive track record in helping brands skyrocket on Amazon. And Amazon is always a topic I know our listeners appreciate. They offer a variety of services, including advertising, product optimization, market research, strategic planning, all that good stuff. But most importantly, this is actually the team that I recently hired to rebuild one of our latest Amazon stores, and they delivered. And I was blown away by what they created, and I thought, well, why not have a guest on the show that has actually proven their work for me? And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome Ken Johnson to the show. Ken, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, and thanks for the high praise.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you're in Boise, right?
Yeah, Boise, Idaho.
Boise. What is up with Boise? It's like this weird little hub of cool, really like tech companies, and it's crazy because I've spent some time there now. We're working with one of our doctors there, and it's just it's this quiet, sleepy place that's got a lot going on.
Yeah, the secret's kind of out, so hopefully I won't get hounded by the mob for talking up Boise. But yeah, it's kind of one of the last great places. There's still a lot of places you can go and recreate. I think it's just the character of the city is. People will let you go first. They'll open the door for you. So it's like it's 20 years ago compared to the rest of the world. But there's really interesting people and interesting stuff happening here at the same time.
Totally, absolutely. Like I've come across so many companies. I'm like, oh, where are they from? Boise. Where they come? Boise. I'm like, really? What is going on in Boise? And it's funny because like you go to downtown Boise, it's not a big place.
No. If you're from anywhere that's a big place, I was a kid from the country, so coming to Boise for me was
that was a big city,
quite the deal. Oh yeah, years and years ago. But yeah, so it's all relative.
No, I hear you. I'm a country boy. I grew up on a farm, a couple hours from Vancouver, and when I first moved to Vancouver, it was just a culture shock. Like I was this, and I'd still prefer to be out there, but I think it's just where the opportunities are these days, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, let's start off. My favorite place to start is your origin story, right? Like, how did you get to where you are today with what you're doing on Amazon? Share your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, so and it really has been a journey, but years ago, I was the director of the debate program at a university in the Northeast. So I was a kid that did debate, did it in college, and then I was able to direct a debate program. And so just along the way, picked up selling on Amazon as a side hustle. And this is nearly 20 years ago. So it was before FBA was really a thing. So just started selling books on Amazon, and then got into internet arbitrage. Started doing some pretty significant volume, and it was just growing at enough of a pace that I was able to convince my wife to why not, let's take a leap of faith and do this thing. And it was a lot of the things I was doing with debate really it translated into entrepreneurship and understanding marketing, and it kind of felt like the evolution of everything I'd been doing in my life. And it was just a new thrill, and I just once I found it, I just couldn't shake the itch. It was remarkable. But yeah, so over the years, started getting more professionalized, and we picked the outdoor industry as a place to really plant our flag. And that's just kid from Idaho, and I can at least be comfortable in that niche of products, and learned it over time. But over the years we've grown our company. We have a little under 30 people now. We've been growing pretty rapidly since our inception. We have a good culture, good place to work, and just learned a lot over the years. Launched a few of our own brands. Yeah, so it's been I couldn't have imagined that we'd be where we are now when I was, first starting out, even thinking about doing this full time.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's funny. I mean, when I talk to people, and I mean, I was back in those days as well, most people started doing what you did, but they started on eBay.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Back in
Yeah.
the early days, right? You're probably one of the first that I've talked to that started specifically on Amazon.
Yeah. It was just, man, Amazon, the scale of the thing was just easier.
Yeah.
If you think back then, eBay, you're taking pictures, downloading them, trying to edit it. It was just taking forever. But with Amazon, you could do that one time and sell, 1,000, 2,000 units.
True.
In a way, I just couldn't get the same traction on eBay. I mean, we certainly sold all sorts of interesting and collectible items on eBay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Amazon was always the one.
That was always the one, hey? Yeah. And so you bring an interesting perspective. You do it for other clients, but you've also built your own brands, right? So where's your preference lie?
Oh, wow. That is a hotly debated topic internally. So you really stumbled on one. So having your own brand, there is a feeling of control and managing your own destiny that comes with it, and of course that means everything's on you. And it's the level of difficulty is so much higher with your own brand, just from manufacturing all the way through the learning all the things you didn't know you needed to know. It's amazing especially you start growing the different types of regulatory complexity, everything that you can get into, and you just really need to stretch your skill sets, and the rewards for having your own brands, maybe being able to exit them are certainly remarkable. But so there's an agony and ecstasy to that, and then working with brand partners. The downside there is that it's ultimately it's their brand, it's their decision, and their call, and so that can feel stifling. But there's working with so many different types of brands, there's just new learning opportunities. You get to meet all sorts of interesting entrepreneurs, and it's one of my favorite things. I've had a measure of personal success in my life, and you're always looking for more. But the thing that turns me on oftentimes is when we have the opportunity to change a person's life, like really create some success in their business, and it allows them to quit their real job to focus on the brand or whatever they're going to do. And when you can create an exceptional result for somebody that trusted you, that fires me up too. So that's a real tough question. I didn't have a good answer, but it's
I think that was a good answer. I mean, from my perspective as somebody who's worked with a lot of agencies, and I'm going to tell you right up front, more of them have ended poorly than successfully. We're having this conversation today because it's been a success thus far, right? Which I think is fantastic. But as I hear your story, I think having that experience on both sides of the fence probably gives you a lot greater appreciation for what the brands are dealing with, the full scope of what they're dealing with, because you've been on the other side, right?
It's just understanding, I mean, the cost that goes into developing product, delivering it to market, the pre-work, and to be able to sometimes offer some advice along those. Yeah, it definitely gives us an advantage and just an appreciation. It's something to hear about something or learn about a subject, but having deeply experienced it yourself, just there's nothing like experience to teach.
Oh, 110%. 110%. All right. Well, what I want to pick your brain on Amazon. I mean, we had some products on Amazon, as you know. We were starting our new brand, Prime Gen X, this new fitness brand for the Gen X male, and we had started to get it onto Amazon, and we went, wow, this is a bit of a flaming bag of poo. We need we need some help with this, right? Like Amazon's a bit of a different beast, and so. I'm a DTC guy that I look at Amazon as okay. Let me preface this. I've always looked at Amazon as a necessary evil. Okay, where I'm over here building my brands, I control them. I'm all about owning the customer so I can maximize LTV. I'm now warmed up to Amazon, realizing that they can play a bigger role particularly in accelerating new brands. And I always thought of them like, I have to have my stuff on Amazon for the people that won't buy anywhere else, and they'll come find it there, right? But my mindset is definitely shifting as I've talked with more people like yourselves who've built brands just about exclusively on Amazon, and I see that power now. That being said, the reason I like talking to people like yourself, you're an agency, you're not just in one little silo, you're seeing across all sorts of different businesses. So a guy like me shows up and I hand you my flaming bag of poo, which is all the crap that I've created on Amazon that's not working particularly well. Let's start with mistakes, right? Because we're all making them. That's why we come
Oh,
to,
yeah.
and look, I mean, I had put zero effort into our Amazon, so I realized how bad it was, but I looked at, like, you're working with big companies like Salomons and, big brands, right? When these guys are coming to you, what are the mistakes that you're seeing that are just sort of sabotaging their success?
Well, I mean, you could have like a laundry list for the solopreneur and the mistakes they make because they're trying to save money because they don't risk a little, learn a lot, and they end up boxing themselves in a corner. But the big guys, I think it's oftentimes that I was going to say that they don't resource appropriately for the challenge that's Amazon, and maybe they don't resource appropriately because they don't fully appreciate what the possible upside could be. But I think it's also it's just kind of hard to go. I mean, I experienced this in my business to just go and hire like the Amazon expert that's going to show up and screw it all back together for you. And so, they'll come with us after years of trying, to have a few different people do this as a 10% or 25% of their job, and nobody really knows how to do it. And they hit the brick walls and they're frustrated. And they'll come to us and turn it over. And the thing I've learned with Amazon is that just nothing is straightforward. We'll get frustrated with, just things will break on the back end.
Yeah.
Your listings will splinter apart. There's not a straightforward process at all. I mean, at all for how to get your products up and listed and managed and put back together. There's an insanity to it. And I think it's just a feature of having a marketplace where they, originally just wanted a bunch of people to come and latch on and create content for them. But it's a mixed up bag. And so it's just through our experience of trial and error and fixing things and creating a knowledge base and spreading it amongst our organization, we've been able to train ourselves how to get everything organized, how to get it structured the right way. I have a team of folks. I say our service is essentially it's the Amazon mechanics.
Yeah.
Like you come in and your Amazon car is humming and whistling, and got to put our ear to it. And these guys could go through a list of the things to do or don't. But it's basically you have to have it set up properly the first time, the right way. Fill in every box, don't skip anything. And that can seem like a lot of monotonous stuff to somebody that doesn't even, they don't understand why they're putting it in or what the long-term implications of leaving some T's uncrossed are. But that's it. They just don't have the experience, and they aren't resourced properly to just get in and take on this kind of insane project that's Amazon. That'd be it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, not resourced properly. So you've got the big players that you deal with. They're not resourced properly. They could be. They have the budget for it, but they're not allocating. And is it just...
Or it's like, how do you tell the hiring manager, oh, you got to get someone to go fix Amazon? And they go on LinkedIn, who's going to get, it is usually a multi-dimensional problem. How do we advertise effectively? How are we going to merchandise this stuff? How do you merchandise for Amazon? How is that similar but different from D2C? What is our strategy for products that will be on the marketplace and off the marketplace? How do we deal with demand planning, inventory management on Amazon? And then this whole back end thing I just kind of went on and on about. So it's really this like, is it 7 people? It's a kind of a multidisciplinary approach that it takes. And so going and hiring the one person that's supposed to solve all of this, everybody has a strength.
Yeah.
But it's a rare animal that would have them all. If you have them, hold on to them tight.
Well, look, I've never found them, right? I mean, I have the one gentleman in my organization who had experience with it and was able to take it so far, but to really scale it up, you're right. There's all sorts of different skill sets, from media buying to design to, and so how's a solopreneur or the small guy supposed to deal with that?
Well, I think the joy of being small is that things aren't so complex
Yeah,
yet
yeah,
that you don't have to solve everything at the highest possible level, and it
yeah.
allows you. I mean, golly, the joy of those early days. Well, it's also you don't know all the things that you're supposed to know. You don't know the
Sure,
roadblocks
sure.
yet, so you're just
Yeah.
plunging along into the abyss, and there is an
Yeah,
ecstasy to that, and so you just don't get in your own way. But yeah, you hit the wall eventually, and I mean,
sure.
I think everybody that's I mean, there's geniuses out there, but for the rest of us, you grow a business and you reach the level of your incompetence over and over and over again, and you have to
Bring that in.
bring in that team, and it's like an orchestra conductor.
It's funny when you look around on Amazon now, like there's two buckets. There's the people that have done it professionally and done it well. And then there's the rest of the product listings that exist out there. But shockingly, and I guess this goes back to the solopreneur that's just sort of blazing through it. If you got a good product or a couple good products and you can get it in there, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. I guess it all depends on your ambitions. I think I mean, there's so many examples of kind of the one person band or the husband and
Mm-hmm.
wife that have gone and had some success, and they've outsourced to a different team and bring together something that's good enough and can make them a little bit of a living for a long time. I think
Mm-hmm.
the where that can run out of gas, the people I've spoken to that have been on that journey, is that sometimes they will, in trying to manage all of that, they fail to be able to get up at a high enough level to think
Yeah.
about how they're building a brand and something enduring. And so
Yeah.
they eventually, the more success they have, the more on the radar they are of all the vultures that are out there, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll finally start getting picked apart and their margins erode. And it's, if they didn't get out in time, it flips over on them.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And particularly when it comes to building a brand, right? Like building a brand is a whole different beast than just pilfering one offer over and over and, bringing, just churning one product.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me to the next point, and that is building a brand on Amazon. Okay. So, I mean,
Yeah.
historically, and a lot of people, like, the two buckets, there's the guys that have brands, big businesses do well with that. We're trying to be that. On the flip side, you have the people that are just running kind of an offer, a product, trying to flip as many iPhone cases or whatever as they can. Let's talk about building a brand on Amazon. And so one of the things that, well, actually, I don't even know where to start with this. Okay, so building a brand on Amazon, you have your products and you have your store. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, what value does a store bring in an environment where it's primarily product listings?
Oh, the Amazon storefront is, don't tell anybody, but that's some sacred real estate
Okay.
on Amazon. So Amazon's a marketplace, right?
Sure.
People engage with that marketplace by typing in
Mm-hmm.
different types of search terms. They, in some back, water of their mind, they click into your product detail page. How they got there is, we can go on and on about the decision making process that goes on there. Now they're in your product detail page,
Mm-hmm.
and you have them for a little bit of a plexi second, but on occasion, and it happens more often than you might think. They'll go
Mm-hmm.
and click that storefront link that exists on every single product detail page,
Mm-hmm.
and so you can get them there that way, or also through the headline types of advertisements. But at any rate, you get them into the storefront, and what's happened is you've gotten them out of the consumer, out of the marketplace. They're
Yeah.
no longer going to click back in and see the 1,000 other offerings from all of your competitors. Now they're in basically a branded experience. Certainly not as robust as a D2C site,
Mm-hmm.
but you have all the opportunity in the world to tell your story, to tell it succinctly with multiple different forms of media, and to get them on a product journey as well. So you can have a hero product get people into a storefront, and then they see the breadth of the offering. And so it starts to build that kernel of a brand, if there is one there, which is kind of a weird science to itself, how you I think you have to believe you have a brand before you really can convince others. But
100%.
at any rate, but you get them in there, and those storefronts can convert. Depending on how, more traffic you're driving, your probably conversion rates going down. But I would say on average, the storefronts we're building, 10% plus conversion rate. And I've seen them go as high as 25% during prime time with some really well built out brands. So, it's still Amazon, super high purchase intent.
Sure.
But now they're on a website. So the storefront's an amazing tool.
And so do you have any idea, like a percentage of the traffic that sees your listings actually get through to the storefront? Because, the storefront's really, they're finding it primarily, I assume, through product listings.
Through product listings or advertising. I don't have a real good statistic. I would bet it's less than 10% of the people. Easily less than 10%, unless you have a really good funnel to shoot them over to the storefront. But it's enough that it really can be a meaningful tell behind the business, and it's certainly worth every effort to build them out. You get the traffic statistics right out of Amazon about what's happening there, and the sales that are happening. And sometimes I've seen also that a Google search for your product, your brand, Amazon from time to time will link those into a storefront landing page instead of going to a product detail page. And so, however Mr. Bezos decides to string that thing together for us, I don't know the answer why that happens sometimes, but it's wonderful when it happens.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's talk about product listings as well. So, one of the things, I'm going to use ours as an example that I noticed. Before we were working with you, we'd post our supplement and, have the bullet points of what it is and blah, 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 and kind of optimize that as much as possible. And then down below, you might have some more details on it. One of the things that I found interesting that you guys did was we, at the top of the listing, it's all about the product that they're wanting to buy. But once you get down below the fold, down below the reviews where the heavy information is, rather than just focus on that product and continue to sell it, you've laid out all of our products in that brand and sort of exposed everything. So what's the strategy behind that?
I think in the simplest way possible to understand it, it's the same thing with the storefront. Once we get them to that product detail page, if they're scrolling down, they probably have decided not to hit the buy now button right now, right? Sometimes they're looking for a little bit more information or confirmation or some reviews, but they're beyond that initial reaction and adding it to the cart. But we've got them to the page. Probably had to pay for them to get to the page, or at least we earned some organic ranking through previous investments. But anyway, we have them now, and what we desperately do not want them to do is to go click back and go search our myriad competitor offerings. And so, we want to introduce them to the whole line. They're clearly curious about us. They want to learn something about the brand, something else about the product. And so it's just more consumer touch points and just another opportunity to try to make an impression. So, when I think about any of that Amazon real estate, it's to kind of, I use the term sacred, not to be, facetious, but it's like you have to treat it as a very, each one of those layers of those pages is really precious real estate. And so you have to be meaningful and thoughtful about how you have them there. So, so at the bottom, we want to showcase the rest of the products. And that's just simply because I want you to know we have more. We're a bigger brand than this one product you found, however the heck you found it. And just give me one more chance to touch you and let you know we're real. And I think that's just one other point, Derek, is I think there's a lot of buyer skepticism on Amazon, and especially as we've seen more and more proliferation of overseas vendors and just the news stories about people getting through with products that weren't safety tested, and that stuff gets up on there, and people are aware of it. So there's a lot of skepticism, and that's the other purpose of kind of having a broader, more professionalized product detail page. It's trying to subtly communicate to the consumer that, hey, we're real, the lights are on at this organization, we're doing a real business here, and it's not a fly-by-night thing that's been photoshopped together, and I ordered something off Alibaba and put my label on it, and drink up. So you have to fight through those barriers. I think the whole thing's about understanding your audience and what their hesitations are.
Yeah, and look, I when I saw that and I scrolled down, I went, that's interesting. My first assumption was this just absolutely builds credibility for who we are.
Yeah.
Because it's not just that single product, private labeled, who knows what's in it supplement, right? I thought that was really interesting. So, okay, so let's just talk about listings as a whole. What are some tips or strategies to make listings more effective? I mean, you got to just look at them every day. What are people doing wrong and what should they be doing?
Yeah, how to make your listing more effective. Well, you've already kind of been poking around at it, trying to ask about, what's the strategy behind having something somewhere. And so I reckon at its simplest form, it's to have a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of almost goes back to my debate days, but I kind of think of your product pages, your storefront, any piece of consumer touchpoint collateral as an argument you're trying to make to the consumer that they should buy mine, they should buy this now and consider it. And so and you're testing different hypotheses, and so you would want to have a reason that it's not just that everybody knows now that you have your 6 product images, maybe you put a video, and you can have some copywriting above the fold. And so it's, there's thousands of Amazon agencies. It doesn't take much to hang up a shingle and go and optimize your Amazon, but that's really just a vacuous claim, putting together some infographics. You have to think about how the consumer is going to go and look at each one of those, how they're going to respond to them. I oftentimes think of you have to have a picture of the product you're selling. The second product, or the second picture, needs to answer the question or provoke the emotion that's most likely to be in the customer's mind, in your customer avatar's mind. What's most important to them? So if it's a children's product, is it about fun? Is it about safety? Is it about making mom feel good? What sort of promise do we need to deliver? If it's a workout supplement, same thing. Is it safety? Is it efficacy? Is it more of an emotional reaction? We're trying to communicate to a person about how they can be a better version of themselves. But so you have to think about, what's our first layer, the most important argument that we have to nail, right? It's less likely they're going to get down to the 5th and 6th image down there. But so we have to hit them with our most important point and somehow convince them to keep looking and keep scrolling. So, so you have to have a strategy about it. And then you have to test, because you're very likely wrong. The first, second, and third drafts of most of the stuff we do, it's just not the best, right? Yeah. And so you have to do something. You should do it thoughtfully. Put the boat in the water. Yeah. See what happens, and and then there's easy things to do. You see your customer reviews or comments or customer service questions. There might be something you aren't answering. Oftentimes in footwear, it's questions about sizing. Yeah. So okay, it's a size 12. What does your size 12 mean? And so trying to figure out a few different ways you can communicate, whatever that friction point is that's going to keep them from not buying or needing to ask extra questions. Just try to remove all that friction you can and do it thoughtfully and test and retest. Yeah, which is hard to do at scale. Yeah, you pick your most important product, and if you can nail it there, you can kind of extrapolate to the rest of what you're doing.
Yeah, and look, that applies off Amazon as well, right? Like, I mean, I guess that's really how you go about it. You put your best foot forward, and then you start working from there, right? But for everybody listening, I mean, that one tactic and strategy you just shared about main image is a product image, second image, speaks to the core emotion or overcomes objections, and using those other images as part of the selling process. It's funny. I would say nobody does that, but very few listings do that. It's just different, angles of the same product.
And I'd say the next level from there. So after you've had enough success, it is very well worth it to work with focus groups specifically on how they're shopping on Amazon. Don't let them know that, we are brand X. You want to bring them in and have them go through different product detail pages of different competitors and ask them what their reaction is and how they're responding to them, and have them go over to your page and ask them in the same way. And you're going to get a lot of, how are they accessing these pages? Is it on mobile? How do you show up on mobile? How's that different from the desktop you probably built the thing on? And just, who's your actual consumer? Oftentimes it's women on Amazon is who your consumer is going to be, but not with every product. So you got to bring in that consumer and see what they're actually thinking about and how they react to that. And that can give you a heck of a lot of feedback. I think you should, I don't know what the dollar amount of sales on a single product where it's worth it, but you start getting over $200,000 on a product, and it's going to be an investment. Good focus groups are not inexpensive, but man, they could give you some really pertinent feedback that you go and implement that could. It's very likely to pay off in the long run.
Okay, so, and I know this is going to be a question that's people are wondering, because I'm wondering it as well. I mean, I've done surveys. How do you do a focus group? How do you set that up?
Well, I would pay a marketing agency
that does it
to go through and do it. The person doesn't work with us anymore. She's retired. But we had a heck of a marketer who had experience from P&G back in the day. She's really the one that taught me how to do it. And it wasn't, it's kind of almost like an overwhelming thing. You think, oh man, all these questions. But it didn't need to be any more complicated than you want to make it. There's people out there who are more than willing of being, super fans of your brand. And if you can somehow invite them in and ask for their help, that's one of the things that I've enjoyed the most about being an entrepreneur is, before I was an entrepreneur, I thought, oh man, running a business, it's just all sharp elbows and, beating each other. And there's this enormous community of people that want to support you. Your, other advisors, your customers, people just want to help you out. And so anyway, taking them up on that offer in exchange for some free product and recognition, and asking them to, you need to have questions prepared ahead of time, and going through and being thoughtful, having a strategy for how you're going to ask those questions, and going through and getting their reactions is kind of the first level, taking those different data points, aggregating them, and not letting your own biases be the filter for what you wanted to hear. So you can do it pretty homemade, or you can pay $10,000 to a professional and have them go do it for you. Either way, it takes some time or money, but it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny though. I know in the digital world, we're all like, can I just plug in a piece of software that'll tell me all of this? But sitting down with real humans is probably the most valuable input you're going to get. Well, and frankly, you can't plug software into Amazon to get usability like heat tracking and scroll tracking and stuff. Anyway, can you? I don't think you can.
I'm all ears if you know where to find it. But I think that's kind of Amazon in some ways is somewhat of a simple machine, right?
Yeah.
We have these set boxes that we get to put our different pieces of merchandising into. The secrets out on how you can influence the algorithm with advertising. There's levels of creativity that go into that, but it's it is what it is. And so trying to find your competitive edge by doing the things that aren't just plug and play that you can sit in your jammies behind your desk and figure out, getting out and talk to the actual human beings, how they would shop these listings, how they would react to it, what they're really thinking about it, instead of just assuming some stuff and thinking you got it all figured out and you're the smartest person in the room. That's competitive edge stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of obvious sometimes, but it goes against our grain. For like you were saying, just I want a software to go tell me that I got to move fast. I got to go now. Yeah, you got to go talk to some humans sometime.
Yeah, fair. I wanted to dig into something you just said there, because it's something that it was kind of on my agenda, and that was, you said the cat's out of the bag using the advertising to influence the algorithm.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that.
Okay. Yeah.
Go. What do you mean? And I think I know what you mean. Are we talking the organic algorithm to get the organic listings and using advertising to game that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, so, I'll start off by saying, our first products that we were making, that we were launching on Amazon, 2016 or so, you would go into these product categories and nearly everything was just a picture of the product. And the bullet points were a description of its like weights and dimensions, maybe the material.
Sure.
And so it was just a different world. And then, so, having some good merchandising that would convert, and then leaning into advertising that was going to convert at a higher rate than these other basic pages. Gosh, those were the glory days. But that cat is out of the bag. People understand. It's almost like table stakes.
Yeah.
For what you need to do. And so that it's just, I think everybody knows that now, that you advertise and you have to essentially buy your slotting space from Amazon. Like if you're going to go launch a product in a grocery store, they don't just put you up there and say go for it. You have to pay them to go in there and to get some consideration. And if people show up and they're buying it and reordering more and more and more, all of a sudden you're like prime time, right, at eye level. And Amazon's the exact same thing. You're trying to convince Amazon to give you a shot. You have to do that with advertising,
right?
And if people react to it, you're going to win. But so people know that formula. Now, how to do it well, how not just to plop it into all these different fancy softwares that are going to use AI to go figure this out for you. That is an art as much as it is a science. How not to lose your shirt, because everybody just wants the software to go and run with it, and it's a good way to go spend several $1,000s a day and yield no results.
And is the software you're referring to, is that the algorithm within Amazon, or is the third party?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, there's advertising software, right? That will optimize your pay-per-click bids, and
sure.
And so people just want to go, just tell the software go do it, find me the best keywords and roll. And it's kind of that human element is what starts seeping in again. It's instead of just getting a list of keywords and kind of having a spray and pray attitude. Yeah, I don't know if it. One of the basic questions we ask ourselves before going into a big PPC keyword campaign push is, does this brand and does this product have a right to win on that keyword? And which means looking at the results that are there. And asking, what are our points of parity? How are we similar to what's already working? And then, do we have some meaningful points of differentiation? Are we, there's some entrenched competitors. They have 15,000 5-star reviews, right?
Yeah.
They have trained the algorithm. So how are we going to go and take the crown off their head? And so I think it takes, a pretty objective look at what's winning there to say, is it worth it? At this point, to go all in on that term. And if you're just kind of letting lists and spreadsheets manage your business for you, and not putting some human intellect behind it, you can go lose your shirt real fast on that stuff.
So and again, another question that shows up, people go and look in a category and say, well, the top 5 guys there have 10,000 reviews. Is that even worth pursuing? Can I get in there?
Well, I think that it's there's a sobering moment that needs to occur. And the bigger the category, the bigger the prize, and you have to think about who are these winners? Are these multinational brands that have advertising budgets that are based on like impression share? That they are running a profitability analysis on Amazon. Their marketers are trying to get eyeballs and are measured off a totally different thing than the person with sell-through is. So, so coffee is a good category to go have a real sober look at the world when it's, Starbucks and,
Mm-hmm.
8 other brands. And that's the first page of results is major national brands. Yeah. I mean, you better have so that's not mission impossible, but that's going to be mission difficult for sure.
Sure.
And so we better have some dialed in, merchandising, that we're really confident is going to convert. We have
Mm-hmm.
to have real points of differentiation. And then, you also have to have an off Amazon strategy. You aren't just going to
Yeah.
be able to go crash the gates on those dudes. We have to have people in the world getting excited about us and sharing with their friends. And
Yeah.
so that ad Amazon algorithm loves outside traffic, just as much as it loves the inside traffic. They kind of have to work in close competition with each other. But yeah, so you better have your head on and know what your plan is before you just go bum rush Amazon in that way.
So, okay. So want to hone in on something you said there. You said off Amazon traffic. They love that. I get that. And so if you're driving a bunch of traffic direct to a listing, or is that people coming in specifically searching for that brand?
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
So, Amazon now has attribution links. So, you can have your Instagram influencers sending them direct to your product detail pages or your storefront.
Mm-hmm.
And Amazon now lets us measure that stuff. In the old days, it was just like, I don't know what happened with that Facebook campaign.
Yeah.
But we're still alive. I guess it worked. So yeah, so now you can see it and it's meaningful. But yeah, then also, have people going in and typing your brand or your product in the search bar. That's a meaningful thing, and it's honestly one of the new brands will approach us, and we're looking to see are people looking for this thing already, and that's usually a pretty interesting indication that we could have some more rapid success than starting from zero. But I'm sorry, just to go back on the question you asked though, of like you look in, there's 15,000 reviews, it's just like a saturated space. Is it worth it? Man, if you win, it is. It sure as heck is. Like that's the honest answer. It's amazing. Like I think we get so hung up, and we have to, because we have budgets and P&Ls and a certain amount of working capital. We have to measure to a return on ad spend, that's meaningful from the click and who's buying it right now. But it is. It's like a miraculous thing when you hit that organic wave, and if you can be, top 10, top 3 on those big time search words. And I've had products that have done that, had partners where that happened. And that's like, I'd be lying to people to show them the exponential return on advertising spend chart. Doesn't always happen, but that's why you're playing. That's why you're doing it on Amazon.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is it's possible, but it's not easy, and you need a more well-rounded approach. And you can't just do it on Amazon. You have to have off Amazon effectively if you're going to come into one of those big categories. There's got to be some existing demand that exists that you can bring into the platform.
Existing demand that exists. Yeah, we still surprise ourselves occasionally by taking something that like Amazon is just native to Amazon brand and doing it. But it was a lot easier 5 years ago than it is now. I would really caution someone getting involved if they thought they were just going to go stick it on Amazon and let her rip. You have to have a multi-pronged strategy of some sort.
Sure. And, I just want to preface that with saying, guys like us, we're always talking about the good old days, but in another 10 years, we'll be talking about the good old days, which is today.
Forgive me for
No, it's so funny because I do that all the time. I'm like, the good old days. Well, the good old days was 5 years ago, and 5 years ago, I was talking about the good old days from 5 years before that.
And it was a total pain in the good old days. We didn't have these tools that would tell us the search volume of words. You would have the Amazon bestseller rank, but nothing was tracking it over time. So you just have to take that, give it some windage. We had different charts up. Yeah, so I guess the good old days were just as challenging as these days. It was just a different type of challenge. Just a different type of challenge.
The market just gets bigger and bigger every year. All right, look, okay, so last thing I want to talk about, and this is something I see a lot of people struggle with, and that is managing reputation, ratings, reviews. And I see lots of people falling into the trap of we can get you, hundreds of reviews. And there's all these review services that effectively, I believe, violate Amazon's terms of service. So I mean, what kind of advice do you have there in terms of a new brand getting online, managing and building reputation?
Yeah, well, I'm like a by the rules sort of guy, so it's a little old fashioned.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I understand the temptation.
Yeah.
I really do, and it's really frustrating when you see your competitors and you deeply suspect that they're playing gray hat, black hat tactics. It's like, well, they keep getting away with it. Why can't we? But I swear to you, Murphy's Law is solidly at play on the Amazon marketplace. And you go touch that hot stove one time, and you're going to be the one that gets got, and it'll shut you down fast. Is kind of like best case scenario. If you get caught, manufacturing reviews and whatnot. So Vine is like the Amazon program. You pay them $200 per parent item, give away 30 products. And you get some reviews, and then beyond that, the best way to get reviews is to go sell more product. And there's different tactics to go and solicit some honest feedback from those customers. So it's a little bit more of a slow boil than many of us would like, but it's the only one that's sustainable. I think I'm certain Amazon's getting better and better at spotting those review engineering schemes. They're too slow for those of us that like to play above board. But yeah, they get you, you're gone. You can get shut down quick.
Yeah, I mean, it is fun, and I'm with you. I've done black hat stuff in the past in search and all that stuff. I've got enough Facebook accounts that don't exist anymore.
I'm no Amazon fan,
But the thing that I've learned is if you're trying to build something legitimate for the long term, you got to find a way to play by the rules. And it's interesting you mentioned the Vine, because that was something that we've just started doing, and it's working, right? Like, and I mean, really, obviously the people that are participating in that, they understand their role. They're leaving legitimate, good feedback. And reviews.
They'll sometimes leave better feedback than, like, you'll get some paragraphs out of some people.
Dude, yeah, we got some books. I was like, wow, that's really good. Yeah,
thanks. In exchange for a product that cost me X, he gave me all this feedback. Like that's pretty fair shake.
Yeah, huge.
And it's above board, and it's all good. And yeah, it's kind of a basic idea. It's right there. I didn't cover any new ground and talk about Vine, but that's how we get about it.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of people aren't even aware that it exists. And it is, I'm glad they did it, because I think the best way to combat fraudulent or all these schemes is to give people a legitimate way to, jumpstart their reviews. So, kudos Amazon for.
Yeah. And it used to only be available 1P, selling direct to Amazon, but it was a couple of years that they broadened it out. That's been one of the nice things about, I guess, these new days of Amazon, is a lot of the tools that used to be exclusively available for Amazon internal, Amazon direct, are getting rolled out to third-party sellers. And so they're giving us more and more access to the type of data that 1P would see, and also these tools like Vine that you would only have access to if you were selling direct. So it's really nice to see Amazon leaning into, I think, there's the fact that third-party sellers are the majority of the marketplace, and that we're getting more and more sophisticated. And they're trying to give us tools to be more and more effective.
Yeah. Good. Well, look, I always shoot for 45 minutes. We're at 48. I think we've done a heck of a good job here. Ken, thank you so much for participating and sharing. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, everybody. This episode's a wrap. Again, as I always say, the only way this stuff works for you is if you actually go and take action. And I've got some notes here of stuff I'm going to do. I mean, the photo thing on Amazon, using those second, third photos to overcome objections, to continue to, connect emotionally and stuff like that. If you have Amazon listings, go try that, or something, anything. You just got to apply action. And this episode is a wrap. I'll see you guys again real soon.
Thanks for tuning in to the eCommerce Expert Podcast. If you liked what you heard, make sure to give us a virtual high five by rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the show on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to check out our website at ecommerceexpert.com for show notes and bonus materials. See you in the next episode.